Stablecoins are rapidly gaining traction. Even if you look at rwa.med, you can see that the market capitalization of stablecoins has surpassed $235 billion, 0 cents, and the amount of transfers each month is increasing. With a monthly transfer volume of $2,570 billion, 0 cents, and monthly active addresses of well over $29 million, 0 cents. We have increased by more than 20.72% in just the last 30 days, more than 21% in the last 30 days. Currently, stablecoins are becoming into a significant component of the global financial system. And I believe that everyone is now aware of this because the administration and members of Congress have been telling us that stablecoins are here to stay and will strengthen the US dollar. This is a pretty optimistic statement since it indicates and even predicts that cryptocurrency will play a significant role in the US financial system. It won't just be any crypto ventures though. Shiba Inus, for instance, are not likely to embrace it in the US, but certain businesses within the industry will eventually become significant players in the financial system. Since Ripple and businesses like Circle and Hedera have been in business for a while and have been collaborating with authorities, they have become a part of the US financial system. They have complied and been quite open. And even now, as we examine Ripple and the events surrounding even XRP, we mostly focus on RAUSD, the primary USD stablecoin, correct? However, what about the other reliable coins that are currently being added to the XRP ledger? And RippleX's developer is speeding up all of this. Let's discuss it. First up, we have XSGD. The source of this is StraitsX, which also has a Euro stablecoin on the XRP ledger. However, as of May 19th, this is now active on the XRP ledger. It adds its stable, controlled SGD back to the blockchain that was created for real-time payments, as well as tokenization. And we can discover how XSGD facilitates the flow of wealth throughout Asia by looking at tokenized assets and payments. Listen, I've been discussing this for a while now. The reality that there will ultimately be a large number of stablecoins on the XRP ledger is something I have been discussing. You do realize that it will be more than simply IRUSD. The XRP ledger will eventually house the whole foreign exchange market. Furthermore, the USD-backed stablecoin from Braza Groups is an intriguing one. As we know, they are also introducing the Brazilian Real stablecoin, but this one is USD-based. RUSD and Braza Groups are the two USD-backed stablecoins that are currently listed on the XRP ledger. With USDB's debut on the XRP ledger, people and organizations will have a simple and safe means of transferring money internationally. Braza is building a scalable bridge between crypto and traditional finance in Latin America by including both USDB and BBRL on the XRP ledger. Once more, as this includes both USDB and BBRL, there are now 3 stablecoins. Well, technically 4, since StraitsX also has a Euro stablecoin. There are 4 stablecoins, not to mention the 5th. This is based on these 3 pages. We currently have 5 stablecoins. Next, we incorporate an additional Euro stablecoin. We currently have 6 stablecoins. The financials of Shuman.io are shown below. The XRP ledger's first Euro stablecoin that complies with MiCA is EuroP, an important step toward the adoption of compliant stablecoins in Europe that will provide tokenized RWAs, payments, and potentially on-chain banking. Another significant stablecoin launch is this one. It is now 6 o'clock. All right. Additionally, our CEO for the European integration with XRP Ledger is from Shuman Financial. EuroP on the XRP Ledger, which has Euro native liquidity and compliance at its heart, combines the robustness of a global blockchain. This will provide a crucial infrastructure for the upcoming wave of financial innovation that is taking place on-chain in Europe and financial markets denominated in euros. Another Euro stablecoin follows from the General Societe. Isn't this their counterfeit one? Has declared that the stablecoin would debut on the XRP ledger in 2025. Back in November, this was announced. I have yet to receive any updates on this. Additionally, we are aware that this is also being launched on Stellar. However, the XRP ledger is becoming considerably more useful as a result of all these stablecoin deployments. And not to mention, the main focus is on cross-border payments. This will have a significant effect on both XRP and the XRP ledger. However, how does this result in the adoption and use of XRP in the United States? Again, the way this operates is that we will discuss USD-backed stablecoins here in a moment. if the US is willing to support them, which they are, that implies that ROUSD, the underlying networks on which these stablecoins are launched, is correct. Let's use this as an illustration. Both the Ethereum and XRP ledgers will be heavily tapped. If, for instance, RLUSD is accepted and used in the United States, which implies XRP and Ethereum itself, this will lead to a rise in the volume and adoption of the underlying gas tokens of these networks, which will raise their... Let's genuinely discuss it, Matt, since many influential people have been talking about stablecoin legislation in addition to Clarity. In fact, the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act was proposed by the House on the 29th. The golden era of digital assets needs to be clarified, according to Representative Brian Steele. Furthermore, we have stablecoin and market structure laws that will open the golden age of digital assets, according to a video released by Brian Steele on the 27th. Let's take a look. Here we will be making rapid progress on a stablecoin. I believe the Stable Act, my bill, and the House version fits in nicely with the Senate's Genius Act. As we strive to also deliver on the market structure legislation that is so crucial, I believe we will eventually be able to obtain one cohesive piece of legislation. I believe that once both are completed, the United States will truly enter the golden era of digital assets. Furthermore, we are aware that the Genius Act is progressing, aren't we? The day when something is formally enacted is drawing near. We also look to JD Vance when we consider all of this. You know, JD Vance only recently began discussing the actions of this administration, particularly with regard to stable coins. This is a significant one. We in this administration do not believe that stable currencies pose a danger to the US dollar's integrity. On the contrary, they are actually seen as a force multiplier of our economic might. This is a significant remark because it not only demonstrates that the United States is prepared to integrate stablecoins into the financial system, but it also indicates that hundreds of millions of people will soon be using them. You should be ecstatic about that because guess what? This implies that the underlying networks on which these stablecoins are introduced will soon experience widespread adoption. Stablecoins will be well known, the networks on which they are deployed will be unknown to them, which implies that the XRP ledger and XRP may quickly achieve widespread adoption simply by virtue of, say, RUSD being incorporated into the US system, which appears to be the case, particularly with the stablecoins that are denominated in USD. To take a look at these. On the contrary, we in this administration do not believe that stable currencies pose a danger to the US dollar's integrity. They are actually seen as a force multiplier of our economic might. The American economy and the US dollar will only benefit from dollar-pegged stable coinage, especially after Genius is implemented, this administrator. And now on top of this, not only does it make a big statement, but we also have this, check it out, regardless of which party is in power. Cryptocurrency is a hedge against poor policymaking from Washington. It serves as a buffer against the rapidly rising inflation that has reduced Americans' savings rate over the past 4 years. Additionally, as you are all well aware, it serves as a safeguard against a private sector that is becoming more and more inclined to discriminate against customers based on their political views and other fundamental beliefs. Naturally, this includes debanking customers who support the Second Amendment or have connections to the first Trump administration. To put an end to the large Trump driver protests in 2022, the Canadian government took a similar action. They were successful. Less than a week later, the demonstrations had ended. Perhaps most significantly, though, I view cryptocurrency as a safeguard against one of the most perilous developments in the digital age, which affects both the public and private sectors, and that's of elites who would rather merely seize and appropriate cutting-edge technologies to establish their dominance over others than create themselves. And I am aware that we in this room hold this belief. That is not Bitcoin, and it never will be, and you will ensure that it does. Ultimately, considering what is happening, we are on the verge of a massive crypto explosion in the United States, which does in fact indicate that utility will become the main focus. You mean it's not about nonsense anymore? We are currently seeing the construction of the utility